Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined by Warzone from the victorious EVOS Esports after getting their very first win at the MSI group stage. First off, Warzone, congratulations. And what does it mean for you to beat Team Liquid and get the very first win of your MSI group stage?
Đầu tiên là xin chúc mừng đội với cái chiến thắng vừa rồi. Và câu hỏi sẽ là cái cảm giác của em như thế nào sau khi đội đã có được cái chiến thắng đầu tiên của mình tại MSI trước Team Liquid?
Em nghĩ là thực sự thì đánh với team này thì em lúc đầu là tưởng rất là khó khăn, nhưng mà thực sự vào đánh thì team này yếu hơn em tưởng.
So actually before the match we thought it's gonna be really tough, but when we're into the game it's much easier than we imagined.
Okay, and it was a lot of fighting, a lot of back and forth, and you had a lot of fighting words in a couple of the videos that I've seen. You talked about GBM before your match against Supermassive. You now had some choice words against the other mid laners in the tournament. Is that part of the mental warfare before you go into your matches against your opponents?
Trong tất cả các video phỏng vấn á, thì em thường có những cái phát ngôn rất là gây chú ý. Em luôn luôn có những cái lời mà có cảm giác như là khiêu khích những đối thủ mà mình sẽ gặp ở trong những trận đấu sắp tới. Liệu đó có phải là một cái chiến thuật tâm lý chiến của em trước khi bước vào trận đấu hay không?
Thực sự thì cái này là cũng là một phần, nhưng trong cái suy nghĩ của em thì em luôn là đặt mình trên tất cả mọi người. Là có nghĩa là em sẽ đéo sợ thằng nào hết. Em sẽ không sợ thằng nào hết. Và em nghĩ là mình có thể hit đất được 1000 cái thì có thằng nào mà hit game thủ nào mà hit được như mình không, nên em rất tự tin là không có đối thủ trong cái đầu em.
So actually in my head I always boost myself above everyone else, and I think that I can do 1000 push-up. I don't think any other gamer, other esports player can do 1000 push-up. So I'm the best. So I always think I'm not afraid of anybody else in the world.
That definitely seems like it, and that's also the way you guys play. You don't seem afraid of anybody. This is now your first win. Tomorrow you're up versus RNG and Kingzone, some of the toughest opponents in the whole tournament. What are your expectations for tomorrow?
Ngày mai thì đội mình sẽ phải gặp hai đội được coi là cứng cựa nhất của giải đấu này, đó là Kingzone với lại RNG. Thì em nghĩ cái ngày thi đấu thứ hai của Esports ngày mai như thế nào?
Ngày mai em sẽ cử hành RNG và Kingzone thì có lẽ thua.
I will body RNG tomorrow, but Kingzone we probably will lose.
Okay, well, we'll see. A fantastic start for EVOS and for Warzone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Warzone piloting the Cassiopeia in their victory over Team Liquid, pushing our second Western team down to 0-2 and ending their day one with a one-on-one. I mean, hey, the guy can do 1,000 push-ups, Jat. Of course he can carry a game against Team Liquid.
A lot of people can do 1,000 push-ups, Jat.
Oh, can you do 1,000 push-ups,
He
Jat?
did not mention the time frame. Thousands of push-ups.
Benny, can you do 1,000 push-ups?
If it's spread over a week, sure, I'm sure I can pull it off.
What about you?
I'm all about the lower body.
Okay, Jat, I got a challenge for you. You get down there, do 1,000 push-ups while we preview the next matchup.
Give me the whole tournament.
By the end of the stage.
I'm really glad we're talking about push-ups.
I know, me too, right? No, but in actuality, we should talk about the performance there put together by EVOS, the rebound from a devastating loss against Flash Wolves to pick up a victory here and position themselves quite nicely here at the end of day one of the group stage.
And the emphasis here is that this was not, just TL playing poorly. This was them playing, EVOS playing well. In their first game earlier today, I think there was some questionable decision-making. Things got snowballed out of control. But this time around, we saw much more kind of that EVO style. They like to play standard. We know of the Gigabyte Marines when we think about Vietnam, playing that weird, funky style. But EVOS is not that team. They play standard league, and that's what's so impressive. It's that now that Vietnam has showcased, two powerful teams in that weird, quirky Gigabyte Marine style.
They hovered the Nocturne. I got excited.
And now they can also play the clean, fundamental League of Legends.
I feel like when I watched them play, it was nice to see Yijin just be a little bit more into his comfort zone. We saw so much attention being geared towards the mid lane. Like the fact that they tried to get Warzone ahead on one of his comfort picks. Stark had a fantastic performance as well. If we continue to see these players kind of step up throughout the tournament, maybe they don't need to play through their bot lane. Maybe they don't need to rely on that bot lane, and they can shift the meta into not being so bot lane centric as we have been seeing so far.
Yeah, I do also think that Team Liquid played poorly.
Yeah.
They played pretty bad. Ole had 9 deaths, I think, in that game, or 8. Yeah, you said just, because Team Liquid absolutely did play bad. I know it's pretty early in North America. Just go back to sleep. Bad dream. Just read the Fnatic post-game thread and be like, wow, Fnatic's 0-2.
Yeah.
TL's got this, right, guys?
Scroll further down the
Right.
Still have a chance.
it's really disappointing for Team Liquid in this game. But it also was reminiscent to me of the type of game you were seeing from NA last year at MSI against Vietnam, right? It's actually more close than you think it's going to be. And then NA actually doesn't really seem like they know how to turn the corner. They get caught out, they give up a Baron, they hold on, they give up another Baron, they hold on. Like it's they're keeping you interested in the game, but clearly it's a pretty tough match for them.
Blowing tournament expectations out of the water. And when we talk about tournament expectations, that's where I want to turn our attention now to the 6th game of the day, the 6th and final game, pitting Kingzone against RNG again. Kingzone favored to win the tournament by many coming into it. RNG, for a lot of people, slotted in that 2nd position. So very much could be, you know, a finals preview here on day 1. I am very curious to see how you guys are looking at this matchup and how the chips may fall here on this first day of play.
For me, I do think that this is going to be one of our... I initially would have said this would be RNG's best chance to beat Kingzone, you know, maybe surprise a little bit before Kingzone had more time to study the tape, try to figure them out. But now I'm not so sure. You know, having such limited time landing, it is much later on. It's about a 6-hour time difference between Berlin and China. So it's like early game, I was like, that's 5 p.m. for China. They're probably wide awake for Fnatic. They're probably fine. I think at this point, this is when you might see them get tired, and they really haven't showcased any new strategy. They went back to comfort champions, and so I don't know if they have any plans ready for Kingzone to try to catch them off guard.
Well, when I look at this matchup, I have to look at the 2 AD carries playing because we saw an entire composition built around enabling Prey, and we saw Uzi just have such a fantastic performance. Like, again, we highlight it. Reckless wasn't even farming poorly, yet Uzi had like a 50 CS lead on him.
13 CS per minute there in that first game. I mean, Prey, 11 CS, no slouch in his own right, and both of them over 40% of their team's damage.
Just insane.
1,000 damage per minute deck. And that was in a shorter game. You normally only see a 4-digit DPM in longer games. And when you talk about like best chance to beat a Korean team, usually it's on the first day or the first couple days as they adapt to the meta. But the draft that we saw out of Kingzone against Team Liquid, I think, personally, Karma, probably the best mid laner in the tournament. Double tier Ezreal, something that not everyone is fully on board with, as we just saw in that last game, and Ezreal not with double tier. And the heavily skilled E Soraka being a lane bully are all things Kingzone is already comfortable with. So I think they're ahead of the meta rather than being behind, which we've seen some years.
Frosk, I can see you want to get a point in. I'm going to let you get that point in, but let's do it with our predictions. As we're closing in on game time here, down the line, make your final point along with your prediction. Who takes it?
Okay, the final point is that, but they're shared champion pools. All of those champions, save for the Soraka, are also key comfort picks for RNG. True. Uzi is, I'm going to say, the best Ezreal player in the world, even though we just saw Prey put up those huge numbers. And for me, this is going to be who is going to start that defining, you know, run for who is the best ADC, Uzi or Prey. That said, I think for today, it's going to be Prey. I just think that Kingzone, they're the heavy favorites coming in. Normally, I would say this is RNG's best chance, but given the circumstance of how they arrived late to the tournament, I don't think it's going to be today.
Small technical difficulties on stage. We just bought ourselves some time, so we can slow it back down.
Oh, you just tell me that after.
So, my predictions have taken a bit of a hit today, having a bit of euphoria.
Go big or
favoritism.
Go home.
Right, let's go.
Double down.
No, not again.
Reverse your losses.
I'm going to stick with my Kingzone prediction. I feel like they will be taking the win here. And I think the main reason for it comes back to what you said earlier in the day, Jump. When you kind of look at a menu, it feels like we have a long list of palettes available to Kingzone, and we've only seen a taster so far. They've still got the main course to come, and with RNG looking like a strong competition to this Korean lineup, I feel like this is where we're going to start seeing the States, the Lobster, really come in and rival that of the LPL.
All right, Jack, close us out here. Can you make it dinner themed?
It's almost dinner time.
It is almost dinner time.
No.
All right.
They are
who's going to win it?
Yeah, it's definitely Kingzone.
All right.
I think prediction-wise, it's silly to not predict them, especially like the trends of the day, RNG having a really tough time versus Fnatic, who then also lost to Flash Wolves, and just how easily Kingzone dispatched North America. I think they're big favorites.
All right, there you have it. Kingzone across the board for the analysts. We got a big matchup in store to close out the day, so let's send it to Freak, Kobe, and Papa Smithy.
Thank you very much, Dash. Welcome back to the Castle Desk for our 6th and final game of the day. Still here with Kobe and Papa Smithy. And I want to ask you real quick, because so far this split, every game you have cast of a Korean team has lost. Will that trend continue right now?
I think there's a glass half full side of this coin, but I don't think.
But they've already won without you earlier in the day.
That's true. Unfortunately, the dependence is starting to move away. I don't know what that means about me. Hopefully, I can stay around the tournament. But I think Kingzone will, and I think Kingzone will go far because, like they were kind of previewing, they are a bit ahead of the meta. I think they really did master this support kind of focused, prey-focused draft they could pull off. My question is actually on RNG. They're on the blue side. When Fnatic were on the blue side in game 1, they banned 3 supports. Will they also be banning supports? Or are they going to say, we've got Uzi, he's the best lane in the world, according to basically everyone. Maybe we just play you at your own game.
In addition to, Kingzone looking so good, I think that they've also gotten more flexible. Yeah, they have a good handle on the meta, but also when we saw them last at Worlds, Kana has actually improved in team fighting. He's improved in joining the rest of the team. He doesn't have to just, split off on his own. So like they have multiple options. Obviously, Peanut as well, replacing Cuz was a huge bump for them.
And those things were connected. At the end of the day, bringing in a carry-focused jungler who can shot call in the early game and really start to ramp up the pressure early, there was less pressure on only Khan being the pressure valve in top. It opened up. How about the jungler gets in there? Peanut's Olaf still undefeated on the year 6-0. That's a pick I want to be looked at here. But I'm really excited to see if we just see the greatest hits of what we saw earlier today in their victories, or if we see something new from RNG and Kingzone.
Well, a little respect there as Kingzone ban out the Kog'Maw in addition to the Kai'Sa here against Uzi, so we won't be having a repeat of that.
Respecting that one right off the bat. So what's the first pick going to be? Is it the Ezreal steal? We knew that Kingzone was willing to first pick the champion earlier on in the day. Sion, of course, left up could be very valuable as well, and is also famously a flex. You can put that one mid lane, but no, Trundle, highest priority right now, get that frontline jungler.
Does mean that the Olaf is available. Now, Trundle was, of course, first coming out as an answer to the Olaf, a soft answer, you would say, is able, if you're able to get mid lane priority, to out-duel him and get in there and use the terrain to get around his Ragnarok. We'll see if the Olaf is going to be picked, because for now, Kingzone, they're focusing on what they like, and we saw first picked Ezreal, so we will not be surprised to see Ezreal back-to-back for Prey.
Down the line, their most played. Another game in on Rise for BDD. He played 10 during the LCK, and this is going to be another one on the board for him. Of course, the Karma he played earlier in the day, banned off, can't do it here, but still, on comfort always.
And let's see what RNG are going to follow this up with, because I think they're probably expecting this Ezreal as well. As easy as it is to follow the trends in the early priority, the Ashe for Uzi this is kind of something we're used to seeing to Uzi actually when he gets pressured a little bit more, and he kind of falls back on this, like, I'm gonna apply the arrows for the team, and we're gonna have the very focused on 5v5. Trundle's gonna be able to shred the tanks, Ashe is gonna provide the main initiation. See if it actually plays out for him.
Usually that answer into the Caitlyn. Caitlyn was obviously something they were considering here on the side of RNG. They're going to go for the Ashe for the utility, like you mentioned. Well, that's seed lane control to Ezreal, not something ideal given how good of a tempo team Kingzone are, and the Swain flex pick also locked in.
I typically consider Ashe a stronger laner if everything else is equal. I think you have better shove because volley is so good and you can just kind of chain autos in the minions. What I'm very interested in is do they grab the Tahm Kench? Because it's the obvious answer to Ashe, but once you do that, you can now pick a lane bully support like a Soraka and force them to seed lane control, and then you immediately win the 2-on-2, the exact matchup we had seen played before. Soraka into Tahm Kench to get priority. This could be an easy pickup here for me.
And those things are always fun. I really want to see that sort of logic followed, because Kingzone don't just abort plans, they adapt and they use their couple of remaining picks, which are jungle, noticeably not a first round jungler taken by Kingzone and this flex top or mid laner that they need to pick up. So absolutely, let's see RNG throw out a gauntlet like a range support and how Kingzone adapt both in pick ban but also in game.
They also, RNG, even though, yeah, they can jump on this bottom lane and try and do a very punishing duo to get Uzi ahead, they have to keep their eyes on the pros of picking up a Tahm Kench and what this gives to Kingzone, because they already have a Rise, they have the Tahm Kench, there's a lot of mobility for map movements here. And, Abyssal Voyage of Tahm Kench is one of the things that makes the big difference between the good Tahm Kenches and the very poor Tahm Kench.
And let's also talk about if they actually move their attention elsewhere, because Trundle Swain has kind of been this really big combo where the Trundle Pillar comes in, it procs the Swain passive, you can take down from there, arrows can be locked into the mid lane. They're not actually, depending on where the Swain goes, ruling out a mid lane focus, which has been not the playbook recently from RNG.
Ooh, hover the Graves, now hovering the Kindred there. Was surprised to see an Olaf ban specifically because, again, you consider Tron to be the good side of that matchup. But as time ticks down, will it be a marksman jungler for Peanut? And yes, the Graves comes in. The exact matchup, actually, we saw Xmithie play into Peanut and survived it pretty well.
So my brain goes through a couple of things when you see the hover even of the Kindred. And it's kind of like a dare. Will you switch this Trundle to a flex? Because we're so used to, seeing Trundle in jungle always now. But could flex into the support, could flex into the top lane, and people have been playing Kindred into the Graves, so.
Where is Lulu going is also a question. China, of course, don't be playing mid lane Lulu. Lots of different things can go on with this draft. A Trundle support could happen. Anything could happen, really. A lot of flex picks aside of the LPL for RNG.
Well, Meng has played one support Lulu so far on this side of the year, though, and maybe going to boo that one again as they're going to grab a tank for the top lane. Need some more front line, yes. So big damage threats out of the Swain and Ashe, and with Lulu, that 2-on-2 should be a pushing lead. Yeah,
Lulu Ashe definitely looks good as far as dealing out some early damage in trading and trying to get some control of that lane. Plus, we'll see the lock-in of the Ornn here to secure more of that 5-on-5 stability for the team.
So Kingzone want to round their draft out by actually firming into a 1-3-1 by picking out the Camille, her first Camille of the tournament coming through from Khan.
Yeah, as soon as you see the Rise, Ezreal, Tahm Kench, first three there for them, you're thinking they're going to try and split the map. And now with Khan on the Camille, taking the carry into tank matchup, definitely confirmed here. I'm super excited to see how this is going to work because these are the team comps that you do not have as much confidence in other teams pulling them off because they do have, higher execution needed to have success with them. If you make mistakes, they don't have fallback patterns. They're all squishy champions, and they don't have a lot of recourse.
And RNG have the champions you want when you see that 5-on-5 versus 1-3-1 team comp, and Ornn for hard engage, Ashe for hard engage, and plenty of follow through as well. The damage output certainly there. Keep in mind there was only one tank on that Kingzone roster. It is that Tahm Kench, and in the support role, not that durable of a champion. So if the 5-on-5 start, they can start running through people.
Especially with the nerfs to great health as well. Tahm Kench on this patch, even weaker as a tank. And we saw the last game, Ole died like 9 times or something. So
to be fair, the nerfs weren't the reason for that one. That was positioning.
That's true.
And we need to see where Kingzone did take the lead. Because like you say, bot lane is going to be a pushing lane. It's double range, but Graves into Trundle is seen as this counter. They can potentially invade around the Camille and do a lot of counter jungling. And I'm really excited about the first 4 to 5 minutes of this game because I want to see how Kingzone wield the Graves first time on the year for Peanut.
All right, well, the music is epic and the players are ready to go. You can see them on your screens right there. They're in the fountain, ready to get out and unleash hell on their opposition. Game 6 of the day. Which of these teams will join Flash Wolves undefeated at 2-0? Royal never give up. Got their win at the very start, taking down Fnatic. Kingzone took down the North Americans and Team Liquid, and now they face each other. Coming to the tournament, these are almost everyone's top 2 teams.
Love to hear the RNG fans cheering for their team. I must admit, I'm always staying silent and waiting for Kingzone fighting, but sadly, Korean brethren not here for this one. But the actual team is here, and I'm really excited because this is very standard Kingzone. It isn't tanks. It is a lot about pressure. We talked about an active level 1, and Peanut's pretty deep.
Yeah, he's stuck up here onto the high ground.
You say stuck.
Snuck.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
He's able to sneak up onto the high ground here behind Let Me, where they have the extra advantage, knowing that Khan is here with vision of the single top laner, and Peanut has had plenty of time for the cooldown on his E to come back up.
That's the fun thing is with the quick draw, there's actually no cost. You can walk in, you don't have to blow a flash. If you're ever going to be collapsed on.
Yeah, unless they guess right away, but yeah, that's back up from cooldown. Not going to be a problem for him right there.
Khan could also take hookshot and skip over if he really wanted to. But Khan's going to show himself on the ward. Peanut walks around. When will they get the information that Peanut's here? They still don't know.
They get the W slow and a quick Tahm Kench Q as well, and the auto attacks come in. So barring a smite steal, this will be a camp taken away, and Gorilla making sure to zone them off. Yeah, there was no chance to steal. Good pickup there for Kingzone.
And this is the reason why I was really focused on level 1, because when Kingzone have comps like this, when you see something like Trundle Swain and what can happen if the enemy team plays mid lane, they'll often look for a 3-buff or try to rewrite a matchup by going for something very aggressive. Rise should be fine, early levels at Swain. Peanut going for a 2-camp clear, not in any rush to leave the enemy jumping.
Yeah, very offensive compositions like this thrive off of pressure, starting it early and snowballing it. Graves, if you can get a lead in this jungle matchup, Graves with the extra range advantage, fleet footwork allows you to kite around a Trungle, bully him when you find him. Eventually with the Phage, speed as well, building into a Black Cleaver, will be able to really control those meetings. But right now, if you keep your eye on MLXG, this Trundle, he is always one to get very aggressive. And even if he gets invaded, try and answer back. So he's going to the blue. Kingzone, however, definitely expecting it, have a ward of their own.
2 bits of vision here. The ward does spot them. Remember that the Hawk Shot also did spot Graves. So more information than you might expect for RNG. So they have that level 2 Hawk Shot coming through from Uzi. It will definitely dissuade a Trundle. He knows the collapse could potentially come through, and the 3 buff for Kingzone is often able to pick up. It's once again on the menu, but we'll see if it does stick.
Saving grace for MLXG is the push in bottom lane. Uzi and Ming trying to come right this jungle situation for him. Will he get smite? No.
Blue on over. Nicely done right there. Peanut securing more and more advantages now up to full camp and total CS. And one of those is Scuttle, not worth all that much money. Really nice at a Kingzone in the early game.
And not only is it, head-to-head right now, he currently has more, but he has more on his side of the map because he counter-jungled the Gromp as well as Blue.
Yeah.
So it takes away any of the options there for MLXG trying to farm back into it, and it forces him to be this kind of scavenger Trundle where he's looking around the map just to pick up scraps.
And again, you should notice that Kingzone, they had Gorilla with his teleport down, his teleport Ezreal once again like the previous game. They actually had a big combat summon at disadvantage when they walked into contest. That goes a different way. They actually focus on fighting. Then they end up losing because they don't have the summoners. That was purely just an on-point smite from Peanut, and it means he's very quickly to level 4 and beyond.
Huge stuff out of the early game jungle. This is generally how Kingzone win their games. They've got Peanut on form, playing so well, getting advantages individually. It's not often out of huge ganking, though they do have a decent number of kills in the early game. It is just the fact that their lanes all tend to win, and Peanut keeps the jungle from being able to pressure anything at all. And right now, the small lead is here.
See, Khan's record on carries, 23-1, and I had a lot of fun listening to The Dive recently. Of course, you're on there, Kobe, talking about... It is a great show. Quick plug to The Dive. We don't have an LCK podcast, so you can have all our viewers. We're going to actually focus in on a stat that really is near and dear to my heart, something that I saw when I was looking in on what was happening around the regular season. This is 2018 spring, regular season stats. Notice that Prey, when it comes to the amount of minions he picks up from 15 to 30, even though he's in this big group of hype carries, Reckless, Uzi, Doublelift, and Prey, Prey only takes 26% of the creeps, 9% less than Reckless. He's not sitting in a side wave, picking up minions. It's actually roaming us around. Speaking of not being in a side wave, 2 levels up on MLXG, but finishing off the point here, what we take away from this is that Prey actually plays a lot of Ezreal. The champion is playing right now. He gets early gold in groups. It's in the side wave. Khan on a carry's picking up the creeps that, for example, Reckless is picking up the side of Fnatic. It's other people that pick it up on there. Peanut and Khan get a big chunk of the minions compared to Prey, and yet he still puts out relevant damage compared to other hyper carries while we keep them and discuss them in the same voice. The way Prey plays, the selfless style of, I just need this amount of gold, 3,500, whatever it is, and then our group is the reason that you can play sideways and you can actually avoid just hoovering minions like some of these other AD carries do.
Definitely like to have an AD carry on your team that knows the limits of playing on a budget and what they can actually, put out.
But what it actually ends up meaning, coming back to what you're talking about on The Dive, is the standard game plan from Kingzone is not explosive team fights. In fact, there aren't a lot of team fights in Kingzone games. What they are all about is setting up these areas of the map where you can't go. The Jace has a lot of AD items. I can't really enter lane. I could die. I can't go there. Turret goes down. The rotation happens on bot side. It's not about a tank top and explosive teamfight execution. It's, I can't go near Peanut. I can't go near Khan. The map gets smaller and smaller, and suddenly 10,000 gold means we can't even fight.
Exactly, and where that so often starts is with Peanut in the jungle, and that's a point that you get to move around. Khan here, though, gonna have to deal with the Ornn ult.
Ooh, and a lot of knockups there, but now the teleport coming in from behind as the team wants to join in here. Khan very, very low, but Gorilla shows up and ensures there's not going to be any fatalities and slows the stuns. It's in there, and first blood comes in for Khan. Thank you, Gorilla, for the assist.
Beautiful execution, double teleport bot lane. That time it's Gorilla coming in. You load the gold onto Khan, he gets closer and closer. for the Orin to no longer be able to even look for trades.
And your point is illustrated. Prey playing on a budget here. He doesn't have his support. He's farming as Ezreal under the turret. They are giving up, a little bit of turret damage, and he is getting most of the CS there, but it's being felt some. And when Uzi gets a lot of free CS like that, we have to switch the lens back over to RNG's side because this is what they want. They want Uzi to have a large amount of gold so he can carry them, deal out the damage later.
But it's all about deciding the game before that gold can even be in there. There's 23,000 gold between both teams at this point. If it stays low gold values, if it stays, Peanut with an experience advantage and getting forward, doesn't matter how much is loaded onto Uzi. And he's not even on a hard carriers. Peanut might just be spot on this ward as he comes for the gank.
Okay, 3 versus 2. They're going to look for a lot of damage coming across this one, but it's going to be the summoner heal on the walk away as the minions go down and Uzi gets that last hit. No W in a CC, just the straight damage shots.
Yeah, Peanut, though, continuing to invade on this Graves. He's able to get the red buff. Huge for him. Going to allow him to continue to bully. And MLG picking up scraps, the Krugs left around in his jungle. Whereas Peanut asserting dominance, getting those lanes the extra pressure that they need to play offensively.
These are the sort of games where Trundle struggles because he was already 3 buffed, he's behind in experience, only been able to farm. He wants to play around mid lane and try to make something happen with the Swain, but he's being dictated to by the Graves. The mid lane priority is there for Kingzone largely because, like you mentioned, it's a no-go zone whenever Peanut shows up in vision or in front of your face, and that means the Trundle is just kind of hoping the game goes to team fights where he can be a factor.
Take another look here. Khan, knowing his limits, is going to wait here after the ultimate is used, after the dash also used from Let Me. He knows that he can keep him around long enough for Gorilla to arrive with his ultimate. He's not in danger of the burst from Ornn as well because he knows he doesn't have that brittle on him. And then they're able to secure it. It was fairly close, but a really good opportunity there from Gorilla, and it didn't cost them that much.
Just a teleport, and like you say, Prey can't be denied to Ezreal. He can farm from over 1,000 range on the turret. Speaking of under turret, MLXG going for a bit of a walk.
Some nice shots right there as well as Ming's down a half HP, but again, you're seeing this minion lead 15 right now for the Ashe on Uzi. He's doing really well, but Waves are going to keep the turret in a decent spot. You can see it's at half HP though. This is what RNG do. They shove up and they actually go for the shots on the turret as well, and eventually that can become first turret gold if it's not answered. His damage goes up and up. BF sword already on that champion, of course.
Really nice timing there. Peanut was top side and just backing away, so they end up getting a camp away. They end up getting a bit of damage onto the turret. It's a bit below half. Now actually taking it down, unlocking Ashe to play mid lane and look for that sort of play where you can make so much value from the Ashe hours and mid lane Ashe. That's going to take a while here, so unfortunately, actually cementing this turret, Peanut will probably spend the majority of his time bot side from now on to stop the turret going down pre-15 minutes.
Pings on him as well. There is quite a lot of vision from RNG on this bottom side of the map, so they've seen him come this way. Zahu should know it's possible that he's in this area. Either that or looking to invade Trundle.
Pressure shopped with a warrior as well, compared to a bit of everything from the Trundle. He's going to walk up.
Gorilla is stunned, and everyone is here to CC him. The Grey help there. He can pop the shield, but is there a way out? Another knockup. Nicely done by Lula. The kill comes through. Another flash follow. Prey is low, and Peanut here to stop this one out. So MLXG, their names are spelled similarly, now getting incredibly low. The flash in for the exhaust to stop the damage. Nice play out of Ming to keep his teammates safe.
Didn't have wild growth up to keep him up, but the exhaust just about does the job. A lot of summoners actually are the cost for this aggressive play, but they do get away with it, RNG.
And now it's a good setup from RNG. On the control ward, they hit the Ashe arrow. Here we go, though. Can he dodge?
Oh, nice out of Khan. Gets away from the knockup, but still has to be worried about how that trade might look under the turret and has to back right out as they burn their spells back and forth. Nice little grass proc, but the stun could be here. Is it the damage? A physical shield means the turret can't even kill him, and Khan just too good.
A damage calculation dirty. Speaking of dirty, Peanut looking to proxy this wave. They're trying to isolate Uzi and Ming. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage.
And now it's 4 on top of less. This could be an easy one. The flash forward, near sight of kill comes through, and Uzi has nowhere to go. Khan shows up, TP's in just to say, hello, I am here. I'd like a bit of XP, and that turret is going to fall.
Yeah, they know they have easy numbers advantage there, having got the top lane kill, allowing Khan to recall, but they didn't even need it. And this is Kingzone, explosive lead now, taking the first turret as well.
And there's just so much to keep track of if you're RNG, because it's 4 teleports and also an invasion advantage. Gorilla walks up, he wants to put down a ward. He does eventually go down. I think MLXG is optimistic with his flash over, trying to actually get the kill here. Prey was on around 500 health with his flash open. Exhaust very nicely done by Ming, though. Didn't have really mana for anything else, but he does stop MLXG going down.
Yeah, and MLXG trying to chase there. You know, it is the flash for flash with Ezreal, but then the additional 2 summoners from bottom mean that is a huge victory.
Unfortunately, Swain can't get there fast enough. Not able to respond to this, can't get to bot lane. Peanut was stopping them from walking away from the turret, disengaging from the turret. If you realized it 20 seconds earlier, maybe you get away. By the time Peanut showed up, there was nowhere to run.
And that's going to give the opening for Kingzone. They make the swap to the top side. They've sent Prey up there. Peanut with a quick exit is going to be able to pop that plant, as well as probably secure a little bit of an invade onto the blue.
Gorilla's already here, and there's no one to stop this blue take right now. In fact, no one's even stopping Ezreal shoving in the top lane right here. No one's answering Prey, so he's going to ult this wave to make it clean towards the bot lane and maybe help Khan with that wave clear, no problem. If he has a W, the turret will live, but he's got to be afraid of a potential dive. Even still feels healthy enough and disengages, staying up.
We have to remember to go back to our expectations from Champ Select and say, where was RNG strong? Where could they be strong? Well, going double ranged in bot lane. Now, they both died. The bot lane turret went down first for the side of Kingzone, and the Ezreal Tahm Kench lane actually comes out ahead.
And they were strong on the bottom side. That's the thing. RNG, they're like, oh yeah, you know, we can get this double range matchup. We could be strong on the bottom side. But you have to be worried about what Kingzone we're getting in trade for that. And Gorilla made use of his global presence. It was even before level 6. He was able to use the Spellbook teleport to get up to the top side and create advantages on the top side. Now, we're going to have the Dragon Trade over eventually, but Kingzone are still pushing on the tier 2 turret over there to get some more gold for themselves.
Almost every team in history had one area of the map you could attack, and that would shut them down. That would slow them down. Stop FLICKR, maybe SKT won't be able to get over the line. Kingzone had this season had all 5 players step back and be carried, and also be superstar hard carries. And while they were able to slow down a Prey and Gorilla, biggest star this season for them has been Peanut. Outrageously good. I would say the difference between Peanut and the second jungler in the world is massive at this point, bigger than in any other role. And Peanut got the Graves for the first time, predictably started invading, and the game plan kind of fell into place from there for Kingzone.
Yeah, and now he does have that phage I was talking about. When Graves gets multiple forms of this move speed, like if Trundle gets caught out now, then you get chased down. When you get multiple resets of that, multiple applications, Kingzone should have a fairly decent and easy time of keeping this map spread out now. They can 1-3-1 very effectively. We've already seen Khan with multiple really good outplays, you know, using those vulnerability flames of the ultimate. And now Rift Herald being used in mid lane while the 1-3-1 is going with Ryze and Camille split.
The charge comes through and Chile drops mid lane turret down to about 1/3. Will be answered eventually, but that is a low health turret. Kingzone looking to already get more than the 3 turrets they've got so far. Up 3 kills, up 2 turrets, and well, up about 5,000 gold at only 15 minutes in. This is a massive lead for the team.
But notice they don't show greed. They know they're ahead, but double control ward to the left and right side of the mid lane turret means you can't just poke around. You don't know what's around you. So they're happy to have the charge, give up the rest of the health on the Rift Herald. Then they have Ryze pushing in top. Camille will continue to push in bot. Sooner and sooner, you'll be able to invade with Gorilla and put down the vision, and then the play comes so much safer.
As you know, cool as it is to always focus on how well Kingzone are playing this and how good of a team this is, you know, the strongest team that we have seen in so long, RNG, what they're looking at is trying to get a similar hard engage as we were talking about in the last game. But they're under so much pressure, keeping them spread out, that they can't, you know, bring those crowd control abilities together in time. They're just constantly behind the clock here, trying to play catch up. You know, even with Ash Arrow and Ornn possibilities, Kingzone are staying ahead of them.
And that's a really good point there, because Tahm Kench is next to Ezreal, and it's Ezreal hard to hit with the Ash Arrow. You'd love to throw in Ornn, because then, of course, you have to use movement abilities to get away from his ultimate. However, you're going to lose multiple turrets doing that. The cost is too high to actually group as 5 in Kingzone. They're happy to keep everyone, just taking the seams out and trying to play and push as much as they can without actually collapsing and opting into the Ornn.
It's really nice. You saw Khan walk up and say, hey, I'm here in case we want to dive. I can clear your control ward, walk away from me. MLXG kills the control ward, walks back to bot lane. Mid lane turret falls anyway. Eventually, Ornn is here to collect the wave, but already lost some of that CS under the turret in the first place, and it just feels like this full court press out of Kingzone. They pull people over when they need to, but constantly they force their opponents to just bleed gold.
Yeah, the Camille split push has quickly turned into a very untenable situation for the bottom side. You know, there are no turrets left for them outside of their inhibitor turret on the top side. So even though the Swain can kind of get there and go 50-50 with the Rise, he can't join as quickly. Xiaohu is sitting on the Flash and Ghost for more emphasis put on winning that team fight if they can get it, instead of having one of those summoners be a teleport to get to the actual team fight. So RNG, again, so much of this game, of a possible comeback for them, would be on nailing down and forcing one of those big fights with all of their hard CC. However, they're down so much gold, even then winning that fight becomes a little bit sketchy.
And that fight is not going to be like Flash was earlier where they got 6-7 goes at it.
No.
Because of TP, Kingzone are always on the map. They're always in the lanes pushing. You don't have breathing room. So the extra teleport from Ezreal is meaning that they can just stay in lane longer, push for longer. You get one fight, maybe two fights, or the game is over because you're going to lose so much turret health because they have basically 100% uptime on pushing.
And the power spike's so much better for Kingzone as well. Full 2 items out of Prey there. Trinity Force plus a transformed Muramana. Uzi not even a couple hundred gold away from this Hurricane or whatever he's getting second. So a lot of space to work with here for Kingzone to take even more and more out of the map, and still looking like the team to beat here at MSI 28.
To note a little item choice here. Look, no Catalyst item for BDD. He actually went for full tier into Ceres, and now he's working on healing reduction to stop Trundle and Swain from dictating fights with extended healing. People were criticizing Fnatic earlier today for not picking up healing reduction. They were going for absolute burst. A pick comp just wants to kill someone, so you're not as focused on healing. Here, it will be a more extended fight, so healing reduction, super high value for BDD.
And Swain certainly champions you want to be able to cut down because they are going to get so much health back over the course of the fights. Right now, the stopwatch is in inventory for Xiaohu, and of course he's going towards Zony's next step, so yeah, that's going to be a lot of time he's got to work through that. But still a low ability power build. He's rushed for that Abyssal Mask, so not sure that even if they do find the team fight, they can actually kill the champions in time. Khan, you can see how much he does towards Let Me. A 2-level lead in that side lane right here. He's just gotten so much more farm. He's up almost 50 CS.
Missed the cannon, though.
All right, never mind.
Pack it up, pack it up.
Yep.
Tonus over.
Wow, all right. Kingzone just forfeit.
Little bit facetious. Dragon is coming up, though, so maybe there's some inkling as we have MLXG currently hiding on the control ward, though there are deeper wards from Kingzone that saw him move to this area.
You're watching at home and learning more and more about this double tier Ezreal build. Second tier is online super early. You want that after the Muramana is transformed, started actually going on. It was 30 minutes 35 when he had Ceres Embrace complete and also the Muramana transformation. This one was around 19 minutes, so probably around 30 minutes again, our expectation for the entire Evolve double tier.
Yeah, and this does mean you're going to have a power drop in the build right now because he's getting almost 0 extra power. There's a bit of that mana to AD conversion and everything else, but until it turns into full Seraph, it's just not really that stat efficient of an item.
And BDD actually used his Realm Warp to push quicker there on the top side.
MLXG is just going to fall. Min couldn't land the rest of the abilities in, and the fight comes in. They're looking for the next kill. Xiaohu gonna pop the zonies, but Uzi is going to drop. Ashe is gone, and so is Swain. The ulti does not do enough damage. 3 quick kills in for Kingzone, and no one is putting up a fight against them.
Yeah, with that, team fight victory, they're going to be able to move over to Baron as well. And once that happens, this is only 20.5 minutes into the game. Once that happens, you feel like there's no coming back.
And it's so instant. The collapse happens, and Let Me can't even be there. He's been just screaming for a 5v5 with this Ornn drop. He may never get one. He ambles over. Already his threats are gone. So it's Baron for the side of Kingzone.
Exactly. The speed with which that just happened didn't even allow for a teleport channel.
We're just poking at this point. No one's fighting. You don't think the fight's over until Prey pops over and Chop Be Damned does a lot of damage. Khan is already there. You see the Ornn futilely walking from the base. Nothing he can do.
Yeah, the coordination there from Kingzone with Peanut and Prey both hitting their ultimates at the same time, and then Prey jumping in with the Arcane Shift. There was no hesitation here, and you could tell they were of one mind, allowing for that collapse to pull off.
That's why Ezreal has always represented a different threat when I'm watching the LCK compared to all the criticisms you see in post-game threads, NEU and NA, about Ezreal doing no damage. If you hit your timings, if you can rotate and be ahead of the play, which of course Kingzone always tries to be, he does incredible damage at 2 items. It's why he doesn't need to side lane. Prey doesn't play a lot of Infinity Edge champions because it's all about hitting these precise timings before you even need a 3-item build to actually take effect.
It plays around the fact that Kingzone tends to be a great early game lead into mid-game conversion team. It's a team that bucks the trend of, oh, it's LCK, oh, they play so slowly in late game team comps, and Kingzone is not really that team. Of course, their macro is great. They're the best team in the world for a reason. But it is about early to mid-game pressure a lot of the time for this squad. You can see, again, this gold lead just stupidly high, 9,000 at 22 minutes against the best team in China, and it just doesn't even look close.
You summated it, Freak. That's exactly what we're seeing in front of us. They've played this immaculately so far, Kingzone. The Spirit of the Rocks Tigers certainly there in their game, and it is very easy on the eye. If you want to see the bloody team fights, maybe in a best of 5, but in games like this, it's just all happening around RNG. And if you're Uzi or any one member of RNG, you must be so frustrated.
Yeah, Baron gonna further empower the split push as the turrets continue to fall. Banner on the cannon already as well in the mid lane. Kratos got hit.
Yeah, but Gorilla's there, but they find the knock-up here, and they will find 2 out of it, but no one is in range anymore to deal damage. Shahu Pop goes, but not going to go for the actual engage. Wild Growth comes in, but this cannon still alive and chunk down to the turret.
Force Kingzone to play one lane, but unfortunately those big ults are down, so they will lose their inhibitor from this passage of play. That was the one chance they got. That was the first time they could. Unfortunately, it was 12,000 gold behind, and the execution couldn't quite carry them over.
Ooh, a nice pullback though on a BDD. They might get one for themselves, but still no one is really in range. Now towards Gorilla, who pops the cleanse, and finally a kill comes in for the first time in about 18. And Xiaohu towards the front, Realm Warp just getting him out. They're going to be safe here. Khan, and he's got escape tool, so does Prey.
Respect the fact that Demonic Ascension is there. They can't take the second inhibitor. They have already got the one. And it is, as we mentioned, a 12,000 gold.
They want to chunk it and run away here. Teleport's actually coming in as well for Kingzone, and they want to finish.
Gorilla's still dead, and they're happy to siege a 4v5 right now. Pillar comes in looking for damage in the Khan. Uzi's okay in the side lane, and now they're going to get that kill without a Tahm Kench to save. So a bit of greed out of Kingzone, maybe too ostentatious there. And they're going to have to stop and cool down, respawn, and try again in a few minutes.
Tried to abuse, they could freshly shop and come back with teleport, but still 4v5. They are too optimistic, not going to commit on the play. Back away to Kingzone. A bit unsociable there, but they've got quite a lot of road to play.
They do. It's going to give maybe the opportunity for RNG to try and get that team fight that we've been looking for. But at this stage, we already saw with the initiation mid lane that if it's going to be an even 5-on-5, the gold is so much that even though there's giant forms of crowd control here for RNG, they have to get someone down before a full collapse takes place. Like, this is kind of how they want to start out, right? They force out the Tahm Kench Devour, then they're able to hit the Horn ultimate on 2, but because the double collapse is coming in, they have to abort mission here. They cannot fight against this super fed squad.
And that's why they end up just surrendering the inhibitor, because everyone has to back. They're low health, their ults are down, they don't have the same engage threat. 2 inhibitor turrets go down, 1 inhibitor completely falls. Definitely wasn't the cleanest to close it out, but Kingzone got a bit greedy with the teleports back to try to take that second low inhibitor.
I really like the team's coordination, though. Pillar into Swain auto attack to get the pull. You've got to be calling that one out, and they did it very well. And then again, this is the 4v5. The whole team got to heal, and they just get another Pillar on the Khan.
Yeah, Khan locked up there, and they're able to finish off one of the members. That's kind of what they're looking for, right? Pulling out someone, because again, there aren't any really tanky members on Kingzone. Even though Gorilla is the Tahm Kench from the support role, can't take too many hits. And RNG just trying to focus down a single member at a time, slowly try and get something back for themselves.
3-item Ash and Ardent Sensor is in there for Ming. The miracle team fight would be sitting in base and finding those lucky picks. The Seraph's Embrace still not all the way over just yet. Current mana pool, 2/3 of the way there. It's not going to be long until that next power spike really comes through for Prey.
Miracle team fight could happen. Like you say, they do have some items onto the Ashe, but actually forcing them to group up as 5 outside of assaulting a Nexus turret seems so unlikely. And Baron and the Mountain Drake spawning, how can RNG actually force the 5v5 that they honestly have to take, otherwise the game will end around them?
Yeah, I think they would have had to start a bit earlier in the game to get this going, right? And this game is a really good demonstration of the versatility that we keep talking about with Kingzone. You know, they have Peanut on point going for super early invades. That's the first domino in the line here to get the pressure going. Then they have BDD on Rise, his most played champions, roaming down bottom lane after they had gotten Khan priority on top side, so that they were able to bring all the members down to the strong point of RNG. You know, it's Kingzone saying, yes, you can play around Uzi, but what is the rest of the map gonna come to, right? So Kingzone play mid, they play top, jungle, they get advantages on all those areas, and they bring them all down to the bottom lane and kind of wipe out the strength there from RNG.
But it's so much about Kingzone's proactivity, because you come to RNG and you don't really have a lot of criticism to lay at their feet. They didn't make a lot of big mistakes in this game. They weren't able to fully capitalize on their double range bot lane, finding a way to actually kill that turret, and maybe you rewrite the history of this game, because Ezreal, Tahm Kench going out of lane first seemed very unlikely. But the moment that happened and you're against a quadra teleport team, the Creeping Dread was there. They understood how dire the situation they were in. It's just so difficult when your enemy team plays a proactive style that so few other teams can actually close. And by closing, I mean actually get the 10,000 gold lead in the mid game. Right now, there still is the I's to dot and the T's to cross as the Baron is on the left.
So they don't get that one backwards. As the Baron is up and Kingzone gets rid of the mid lane wave, and at some point they will collapse back down to this top river as they've put the control wards down and getting rid of some of that vision. Khan's going to do the quick solo on this Mountain Drake. At Double Mountain, they will absolutely evaporate Baron Nashor. Right now, they're playing for control. They're not looking to sneak, not looking for the 50-50 potential steal, potential backstab. Of course, Khan on the other side of the map means it will take a little bit of time here on this one.
There's transformation even earlier this game, around 28 minutes for both those tier items to be fully stacked.
Sarah's Embrace worth a lot of ability power. 50 plus 115 for the mana combined. Ezreal's full mana pool, 3,800. It's a lot of stats. He is now on that power spike and going towards that healing reduction, plus Ruin King, and I'm really glad he's actually adding these as his last two items. I think they fit the build really well. Ruin King for anti-tank, and of course the Executioners because of the champions against.
Yeah, I mean, BDD's got a big shield. Prey now has a big shield. Camille with the Sterix for Khan there is going to have one as well, and Graves with the Phantom Dancer, going to auto-attack someone close. He's a little bit innate tankily from his champion kit, and reduce a little bit of damage of whoever's closest to him. It just makes it hard now to try and even isolate one of those members and burn them quick enough, in addition to the fact that they have to not be next to Gorilla.
If you're wondering how much damage Ezreal's doing with his ult, you're the first target. It's about 900 at this point with the double tier build. Soon to be play the Ruin King to put it around that number.
All right, collapse on Baron is happening. Here goes Kingzone, and this is RNG looking to make their move, but immediately Kingzone pull off. They allow a little bit more space for Khan down bottom to split push with the Camille.
And there was too much space for the Ornn to actually get there, and that's the terrain where they can actually combine Ornn ult and Ashe ult. As Ashe ult does fly wide. If Let Me actually gets to a fight, strange things can happen regardless of the gold lead. So far, Kingzone have been able to deny that, but Let Me not being in interrupt range of Khan is the one way that can happen.
And with the Ashe arrow down, that's a very important tool that RNG would have to use to be able to force something, because they have to catch someone kind of out of position. That's really the go-to one. And, you know, Tahm Kench was also right next to Peanut, even if that one had landed on him. So RNG might have to wait around. They need every
advantage
available to
everything
them
they can
to
get.
try and make it happen.
Well, Shahu basically has money for Ryleys right now, and Uzi is only about 400 gold away from Infinity Edge, and that is a huge spike. They've got Khan slow, but he knows he can dodge away from any of the skill shot, crowd control. Ashe arrow on cooldown right now anyway.
But now it's about counting cooldowns. If you see 2 Hawk shots down, you have about 60 seconds to play around the Baron. Then you Ashe arrows down, so Khan can walk up and say, is there a flank for me? And not have to just get Ashe arrowed in the face and die. It's very much now about counting cooldowns and working out when they can actually invest their double Mountain Drake into restarting this Baron.
Counting for positives for RNG, though. They have been able to bide their time. They've been able to farm a little bit, wait for the second inhibitor come back. Yes, they're still down, 10,000 gold, and it's dangerous for them to venture out towards the Baron.
But it stayed 10,000 gold, and there's still no tank other than Gorilla on the lineup, which means you trying to ult exactly that champion, and the front line is easy to kill. Uzi very close to IE gold. He actually might have it on this recall, and that's the big power spike. That's now Leandri's Torment actually instead of Ryleys, the item out for Shahu. So even the midline Swain trying to build a bit of space is actually starting to scale up as well. Can use their opponent's stats against them. It's a max health burn, which is good against bruisers like Khan and Peanut have, where they don't have MR, they have health, and it's like, well, great, I scale off that anyway. Of course, still, we're talking about a 10,500 gold lead right here. This is something that Kingzone should be walking away advantageous with as they continue to scale up. Blade of the Ruin King done for Prey as well.
Any attempt to siege here, so RNG finally feeling confident enough. They're investing Let Me because he's pushed out far enough in the bot lane. On the few times they've been able to walk down a lane and be proactive.
Yeah, and you only have 30 seconds once you do that. So if they aren't able to immediately jump on it there and have the Ornn get close enough in that 30 seconds, Khan's knocking at your door again. He's like, hey, I'm at your inhibitor turret. Are you going to come back and deal with me? Or are you going to take your shot now?
XG does have more vision available to him because he did go for, now I have the Watchers now opened and is able to actually start poking in the wards. So still no Baron taken.
Nice chunk down from Khan. Actually makes Let Me have to kind of hide from this. Look at that. He actually will die under turret, so that's going to be inhibitor turret falling.
Yeah, even an Ornn with press the attack on him already looks pretty juicy.
So the play is to sacrifice Baron to go for a kill on Khan. He's going to flash to land an auto attack stun, and he should not have any ways out of this one. Guardian Angel popped. The death should happen as well. He's going to try to make the play. Nearly takes down Uzi, but the health is simply too high. So Baron gets taken out, and the team is sieging the top lane as they will kill off Khan. So now 5v4 with Baron up. The Baron is going to help knock down that top lane inhibitor for a few seconds. What's going to happen on the backside, though?
Was no play. I would say there was no play for RNG to actually stop the Baron with where the map was. So they get a kill, they get a Guardian Angel. Now the gold efficiency of his items are a bit lower. They lose top lane inhibitor. They have no inhibitor turrets left, but there wasn't really another playbook for RNG to follow.
Gotta cherish the small things in life, Papa Smithy. When you're down 10,000 gold and you're able to kill the enemy top laner and take down their Guardian Angel, you know, that's going to be one of those small victories for them. Because as you said, if they go for that Baron, it is a Hail Mary. If they try and stop that thing, that is a very low percentage, you know, attempt to actually turn the game right there. But this one, we sent everybody down to Khan, try and make some quick work of him. And even then, you know, they're flashing on him, they're immediately ulting, and not hesitating to use everything available.
While we watch this extended replay of Khan going down, I think returning to something you just said, what could they have done, is something that at every moment of this game, if you freeze and say, what could RNG be doing here? Very often the answer was defensive and reactive outside of maybe around the bot lane early. So often it was losing the minimum, losing the minimum, losing the minimum. You add the minimum together enough, the game's over. There has to be only 100% to be able to be claimed. And that's kind of the thing about a game plan like this is they haven't made huge mistakes, but how Kingzone have approached the game, there wasn't a lot of false choices for RNG to follow. And at the end, they have to give up a Baron and accept the maximum, which is killing Khan.
This late in the game, that Infernal Drake pickup means quite a lot of extra stats. It's ability power and attack damage, so doubly useful for Prey. Can use both sides of it. There's like no champions that do that other than Akali. It's beautiful. All right, so Prey is huge, and they're looking now at this end game sort of play there. The pillar comes in. No follow-through yet on the Prey's Ezreal. Gorilla trying to stand far enough away that he's not always a stun target, as he does have cleanse but no QSS, so no double CC removal. He can only get rid of one. But that siege is happening in the bot lane. Banner, Baron, Minion doing pretty nicely. 1 minute left on that buff still. Ash able to knock down that.
I mean, has to abandon clearing minions in top side. Khan walks into mid lane. Almost gets interrupted.
Could be the attempt on towards Khan. He's flashless, he's GA-less, and they will get the ulti across and quickly picked up there and saved. And Xiaohu puts on the zonies, but he's so low on HP, he's gonna have to flash away to stay alive. Prey could be a target, but he's gonna jump forward for a little bit more. An ulti out of the graves. Peanut almost gets himself a kill. There's gonna be a quick healing forced out of the squad. Uzi does have time to auto attack though. Can he find the target to go down for? Turret's getting a bit low, but anyway, thinned out. All inhibs dead.
Khan is going to teleport back in. He recalled after taking that big chunk on Camille. He's going to teleport to the top side and replenish the push here for Kingzone.
Only one play in this playbook. This is the NFL full court press. It's been Kingzone the entire time. They keep teleporting everywhere, always applying pressure. Still, it will eventually have to end with a 5v5, as that's the natural shape of the map.
There's nowhere else for them to go.
Nope. They've pulled in Gorilla. Big chunk of damage on there. Pops the shield. He's going to stay alive. One turret still standing, but his Baron times out right now. This is going to be the fight that might end the game. Peanut versus Uzi 1v1. Snipe's going to come in. They found a little bit. BDD not going to fall. They killed Uzi instead. The knockup, Sincon can't quite get it. He's been knocked into the air, but is there any damage to really speak of? Xiaohu, half tanky, looking for it as the ulti comes back across. They do get one for it. BDD very, very low. Let Me can't quite get it. The health part just barely standing alive, and Prey able to kite, wielding that red buff. Peanut there to show in the bullets as well. They've got a pullback, but Prey is simply too durable. And as the Nexus starts to fall, 4 versus 4, teleport back in for the rise. They get a pull in, but Gorilla keeps him alive. The shots can come through. They go for the kills first. Pad the KDAs. 2-0 in the group stage for Kingzone.
You lose the minimum over and over and over. Eventually the threshold is the entire game, as you said.
Looking vulnerable is something Kingzone don't want to do on day one. In full control, both game 1 and game 2 they played. Able to dispatch RNG, who no doubt must be frustrated. Gonna take the coach, pulling them in and really talking about the macro play here, because honestly, it was a aggressive macro masterclass from Kingzone that gave them so few options to actually try to respond.
And with that, 2-0 start. The tournament favorites. And every single game they've played so far has been controlled from the start. They've had the early game lead, they've had the good plans, and they give up a kill here and there, but it's always the confidence that this is the better team. They withstood the defensive RNG, even if Uzi got to 5 items and the BF sword towards his last one. Did not matter. The team fight was better, and they pushed it through in the end.
And in addition to, how good they look winning this game, a lot of the awe that people have when looking at this team is that they're doing it with this type of team comp, and how difficult the execution is and how few mistakes you're allowed to make with it to have a game look like that.
I mean, just nothing happens in a vacuum against Kingzone. If someone is dying, if someone is overextending, it's in the service of something, and that something, more often than not, pushes their agenda forward and forward and forward until eventually that Nexus explodes.
Beautiful stuff out of that squad, of course. So 2-0 is going to be their run so far. Flashholes have met that metric on another team that I think there's some pleasant surprises about, because it was a story for Flashholes of a squad that was losing a lot recently. Very bad Worlds performance, for example, lost part of their roster, still looking pretty sharp. So I'm very curious what that matchup looks like further down the road, because those are the 2 undefeated teams, and they are both looking sharp. But now for more on that day 1 of the MSI group stage, let's head over to MSI Tonight.
Thank you very much, Freak, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to MSI Tonight. I'm your host, Dash, joined by FLICKR, Invitational, and Jat to close out day 1 of MSI Groups. How'd you guys feel after a 6-game day?
Great day, man.
Yeah?
I love the way
day.
EU started today.
Oh, it's going to sting for some fans. Vedius over here.
You know why? Because it can't get worse.
That's true.
Literally, the win percentage only can go up.
It could get, somehow both of them could lose to each other. I mean,
we don't have ties.
They do play each other tomorrow.
We are in Europe,
so
guys.
Somebody's coming away with a victory tomorrow when they play each other. We'll get towards tomorrow's schedule in just a bit. As we just saw, Kingzone closed out the day with a win against RNG. Again, the tournament favorites here, but a very different style employed this time around, with the carry in the top lane for Con and more of a 1-3-1.
I loved watching this team play split push. I feel like they are the first team today to play it properly. We saw multiple times RNG grouping up mid lane and being like, hey, we have an Ashe, we're ready to fight. And Kingzone are like, no, we have this lane, and they belong to us, so we will continue to own them and force you to split apart. And the put all the resources into Uzi did not work out. And we never really saw him have an impact outside of when they were able to kill Khan.
That's because Uzi does this all the time. It's a big moment, big matchup, and he takes a step back and he picks the Ashe. I kind of get it. Ashe has a lot of lane priority. She's able to push it. She has the volley. You see the Ezreal, but they had priority pick. They had the opportunity to grab the Ezreal. They prioritized MLXG's champion pool by snatching away the Trundle when they've seen Graves running over Trundle or giving him problems pretty much all day. I feel like this is one of the situations where it was a bad comp read from RNG, and they got smacked for it.
I was about to say, you called that at the top of the day. You said RNG has been known for some bad drafts. The question was whether or not they'd be plagued by them throughout this tournament. Of course, this is just day 1 and just 2 games. We'll see if they can shape themselves up around the meta as we move into day 2. But Jat, Kingzone here, the game extended for quite some time, given how lopsided it began, and a lot of that was due to some interesting and somewhat intelligent summoner choices here out of Kingzone and Gorilla in particular.
Yeah, I thought the TPs were pretty awesome. You can see the level 1 where they invade to steal the blue buff from Trundle, but then he can just teleport bottom lane to make it not that big of a deal. Obviously, he recalls, swaps it out, goes right back in, and he had not only that one that we can see here to make it so they didn't lose anything bottom lane, He also turns a top lane gank, and then this one where he had actually teleported mid prior to that just to Tahm Kench ult down with the Rise.
And the thing is we've seen this now twice out of Kingzone, where they ran the teleport onto the Ezreal again, and I don't think they're going to play it every single comp. I don't think this is going to be a scenario where the tournament meta comes in, that everyone's stacking teleport, we're zipping around everywhere. I think it works with this comp in particular because you do have the Ezreal. He's got the double tier build, which means now he has 2 power spikes. He's got the initial one when he completes the first tier, and then now he hyperscales into late game with the completion of the second tier, but he's super safe in the lane phase. He can sit back, he can farm with his Q, which affords him to drop either a defensive or aggressive summoner position in that second slot.
Right, we saw it used on the Ezreal in both games here for Prey, notably in the game against Team Liquid. Jat, you put some criticism towards Team Liquid and some of their decision making. That TP came in quite handy in that moment in terms of dealing with Team Liquid attempting to steal the game back.
Yeah, overall, I think Prey, being such a good player, allows him to bring the TP. I don't know if other teams would be able to replicate that, because this game, Uzi, probably the best laner in the world, was only up by 15 CS and didn't even take his turret. That's a little crazy.
That's without combat summoners on the other lane.
Yeah, exactly. So it's cool that Prey can do it. I don't know.
But wouldn't suggest that anyone tries to follow suit.
Pretty much.
If anyone does, though, I think the LPL teams might try to match it with this type of style. We saw it in the LPL. They were crazy about the unsealed spellbook. Obviously, everyone was. But what was unique about the LPL is because of how late our patches came, we were on the unsealed spellbook patch for much longer than the rest of the world. And we had like 4 different metas take over. And eventually, all of our supports were taking the teleport. They were TPing their Alistars into top lanes, mid lanes, trying to make plays like that. So if this does become a thing, I know that RNG do have experience moving towards it.
Now, and within this game, while Gorilla's running amok in the bottom lane, we also have to give a nod to Khan and what he was doing in the 1v1 on that Camille. Multiple, solos, if you will, here in the top lane.
I mean, we started the day off by saying, you know what, this guy can play tanks. We saw him doing it in his final, but he is much more suited and seemed to be much more focused on playing those carry styles, and when he's able to get a slight lead, he doesn't really stop. He is a dangerous threat in the top lane, and this is when we kind of tie it back to the triple threat carry. You have Prey and Gorilla down in the bottom lane who are constantly finding their own leads and just tanking all these ganks. You then try and invest a couple of resources into Calm. Maybe BDD comes up and helps as well. But then BDD is no slouch. His rise in this game too, like, you have so many lanes you can play through and you can enable any single one of them, that this team is just a threat regardless of who gets the lead.
And the question becomes, on day one, when a team shows you 2 different versions of themselves, both of which they're 100% capable of winning games with, how do you even begin to formulate attack plans for future days, right? If you look at their future opponents, I can't look at today and go, oh, pinpointed a weakness that I can exploit in Kingzone's game.
Yeah, it comes down to playing to your own strengths. Because I think Kingzone has proven to be extremely versatile. I do think the Ezreal should be taken away at the very least, because it's super strong. Frost Current's mentioned that a bunch, but you're still going to have to play your own game because they're so good.
All right, with a solid 2-0 victory here for Kingzone over RNG, let's send it over to Shox and hear what Khan says after taking down RNG.
I'm standing by here with Khan after that second victory today for Kingzone, a game versus RNG where you guys were super far ahead very early on, yet it slowed down and you even had to sacrifice yourself in the bottom lane for your team to get Baron. Why do you think the game slowed down there at the end?
자, 이번 경기 때 초반에 엄청난 이득을 보시다가 갑자기 천천해지면서 밭레인에서 희생을 하셔야지 이렇게 내셔를 먹을 수 있었어요. 이 게임에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시나요?
아까 말씀하셨던 그 장면이 한 7분에서 10분 정도 더 일찍 나왔어야 되는데, 이게 제가 아직 좀 뭐라고 해야 되죠? 긴장감이 덜 풀려서 그런지 제가 좀 긴장하느라 그 장면이 너무 늦게 나왔는데, 뭐 다음 경기에서는 이런 부분 확실하게 피드백 되어서 더 빨리 좋은 경기력으로 보여드릴 수 있도록 더 노력할 거예요.
That moment you're talking about, I think it should have happened earlier, like 7 or 10 minutes earlier. And I think I'm still nervous. I'm still under pressure. So I will get feedback and I'll prepare better for the next game.
Okay, a bit of nerves. Gorilla did tell me earlier that he thinks you guys are going to win the tournament. You're also huge favorites. You say that you're a bit nervous. How do you reflect on the team's performance so far after day one?
아까 고릴라 선수 인터뷰를 했을 때 이번 경기 우승할 것 같다라고 얘기를 했고, 이제 킹존이 되게 강력한 우승 후보예요. 이제 칸 선수님이 보셨을 때는 어떤가요? 이번에 오늘 팀 성적을 보니까 어떤 것 같아요? 지금 컨디션이?
뭐 성적이야 2대 0으로 이겼긴 한데 마지막 경기 같은 경우는 훨씬 더 빨리 끝낼 수 있었음에도 불구하고 그렇게 못돼서 좀 상당히 아쉬웠고 뭐 제 자신 플레이에서 뭐 점수를 매기자면 10점 만점에 한 3점 정도 한 것 같은데 다음 경기에서는 많이 보완해서 10점짜리 경기력 보여드릴 수 있도록 노력하겠습니다.
So we won today 2-0, but still that last game, we should have ended it earlier. And if I had to put a mark on myself, like out of 10, I would say 3. Yeah, I was supposed to.
Okay.
For the next game, I wish you a better performance, get a 10.
Okay, well, if that was only a 3, then I think a 10 out of 10 will look very, very scary. So you played a Camille today, and we know that you love to play carry picks, and you're really the only top laner in the tournament that plays carry picks so often and so well. How do you think that flexibility is going to contribute to Kingzone getting victories at MSI?
칸 선수가 오늘 카밀 하셨는데 다른 이번 대회 출전한 탑 선수들에 비해서 약간 캐리력 그 챔피언을 잘하는 걸로 알고 있어요. 그게 킹존의 약간 유연성이 보여준 것 같은데 그게 다른 팀에 비해서 어떻게 이득을 갖다 줄 것 같나요?
아무래도 상대방이 더 압박을 많이 받을 것 같아요. 왜냐면 저희 바텀이 공격적으로 해야 할 땐 공격적으로 할 수 있고 이제 살짝 희생이 필요할 때는 희생할 수 있고 마찬가지로 반대쪽으로도 탑에서도 공격적으로 할 수 있고 이제 수비적으로 할 수 있어서 상대가 좀 많이 골치 아플 것 같아요.
So I think our enemies are gonna have a really hard time because our bot lane they can be really aggressive, but they can also sacrifice themselves, and I can play more aggressive. So as we can do both pressure bot and top, I think the opponent is gonna really have a hard time.
They will, I think so as well. Looking very scary. Fantastic performance on day 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shocks. If that's a 3, I am terrified to know what a 10 is.
He's trolling.
He's got to be, right?
100% trolling.
Oh, my goodness.
That's not a 3.
That is not a 3. You're up 2K gold individually at 15 minutes, and you call that a 3 out of 10 performance.
So recently, LeBron James swept the Raptors, and after game 1 where he had a 31-point triple-double, he said he probably played his worst game ever. That's Khan saying he was a 3. Like,
Same
clearly he had some things he wanted to improve on, but it was not a 3.
No, it definitely was not a 3.
Out of 4?
Sure. Okay, yeah, all right. Now we got onto something here. Oh, my goodness. All right, well, with that win, Kingzone moved to first place along with Flash Wolves, followed by Evos Esports and RNG sitting at 1-1. And, of course, Fnatic and Team Liquid are off to a rough start as they both lost their games today. Today, though, our analysts had their first chance to impress with their predictions. Let's go ahead and check out how they did. How do you guys think you did? Do you remember?
I think I'm okay with this.
Vidius?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
You scraped by with the 500 record.
I put too much faith in my own region. That was the error.
That was the error?
That was the error.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Team Liquid played the tournament favorites today, so I feel like for most of us that was an easy prediction in a sense to call. We're gonna have to, Fnatic plays Kingzone tomorrow at the top of the day. We'll get into that discussion in just a bit. But I think the thing I want to talk about the most is the impressive day put together by Flash Wolves. We talk about the two teams sitting at 2-0, and I think the expectation, again, was RNG, Kingzone. Those are the top two teams. Of course, RNG had to play Kingzone today, but Flash Wolves sitting pretty 2-0 at the end of day 1.
I mean, it looks like a strength of schedule. Obviously, we have a lot of play to go, but this is a good momentum warm-up for Flash Wolves. They tested the waters. They came in after a sweeping victory in their play-in stage. They hit Vietnam. They then look over and just roll over the top of Fnatic. And so I still have a lot of questions about Flash Wolves because while Maple played really well and they were making these clean bot lane dives, getting Betty involved, highlighting Sword Art, there was still some questionable Baron setups, maybe not executing the fights as cleanly as possible. And so I'm still undecided on if I want to get aboard the Flash Wolves hype.
Personally, I am boarding the Flash Wolves hype pretty early
He's
on.
like full aboard.
Yeah, I'm like, I booked a ticket first class. These guys are looking great. I just feel like that they've came in pretty well prepared. I feel like they have a pretty good understanding of the meta. They recognize that playing through bot is a strategy they can rely on, but their mid laner seems super consistent to me. And also, it just feels like that when they draft a comp and they recognize its win conditions, they actually play towards them. Like, one of the big issues that we've seen from some of the other teams is they draft 1-1 and they're not properly setting up side lanes.
Fnatic and TL.
Sometimes we see them trying to set up poke comps and then they get countered by it with a good draft. Like, I just feel like that the Flash Wolves are coming into each game very well prepared, and they're executing upon it very effectively.
Yeah, I think one thing that helped them a little bit, actually, is the fact that this was not their first and second game of MSI.
Right.
It was their fourth and fifth game of MSI, and they did look more practiced than some of the other teams they were playing against. I do think that definitively they are in that conversation now of second place because everyone was saying King Zone 1, and then there was that argument, well, is it going to be RNG 2? Is it going to be TL, Fnatic? And you just never mentioned Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves without Karsa wasn't supposed to do anything. But I think it's a worthy conversation.
We got to restart the entire conversation at this point, because on the flip side of the 2-0 is the 2 0-2s. Both Fnatic and Team Liquid starting out their tournament hopes here with a very rough day. Again, we're in the conversation for 2, 3, 4 position, and now they're just hoping they can make it out of groups.
I want them to play each other. Then someone's going to win.
They play each other tomorrow.
Half of the people will be not disappointed.
They play each other tomorrow. We will see that tomorrow. But I do want to talk about the 0-2 starts for both of these teams and kind of what went into it, starting with the EU team in Fnatic. We've talked a bit about Caps, the young talent here from EU. The Yasuo pulled out in the first game of the day. Had some good plays, some bad plays. Where are we sitting on this guy?
I mean, go. Take it.
Fly. The thing about Fnatic that reminds me a lot of their early regular season performance, because coming into the split, Caps kind of stepped up. He was just looking extremely good. It felt like that loads of champions fit into his playstyle, and he was just coming in as a huge carry. But then teams were starting to figure that out, and then all they had to do was actually wait for Caps to try and make a play, and they would punish him. Because Reckless couldn't properly work with the rest of his team. And this was the first 3 weeks of the regular season, where Fnatic as a whole hadn't figured out how to work together, with now Hylissang joining in, with new coaching staff in the form of Youngbuck. But then after week 4 and 5, they found synergy together. Now it feels like we've backtracked, where Reckless seems to be playing on the back end a little more passively than he should, and not really trying to be that big carry. And then all the pressure kind of falls on Caps. And unfortunately for him, he's still a young player. He still doesn't have that same level of experience as someone like a Maple does, as someone like a Reckless should. And unfortunately, he can't always be expected to perform when an entire team is relying on him to find that game-winning play. And we're just in this situation right now where the rest of the team need to step up, because I love the fact that Caps is being proactive. And even though he is making these mistakes, the rest of his team is not contributing the same way he is.
But ultimately, it's not, the same Fnatic that qualified for MSI. The top lane is different, not having Soaz there's not as much experience. Yes, there was semifinals and finals themselves, but that's not a lot of game time on the map. And we did have this discussion about where is Reckless. We're talking a lot about Caps, and Reckless had the ability to really pop off in the Kai'Sa game, wasn't as strong as we wanted. I don't know if it's necessarily a back step as it is turning a corner, a new iteration of Fnatic, or the next stage of Fnatic, but they're still rebuilding, and the rebuild's not there just because it is different players. It's different positions.
I mean, 5-day group stage sounds like a bad time to be rebuilding.
I think Caps did make some mistakes, but compare him to the other mid laners in this tournament. Like, who played much better than Caps? I thought he did fine with the 0-2 team. It's the side lanes that were letting them down. Reckless is the MVP of this team. And he lost laning bases both games and made poor decisions in some of the team fights, right? There's definitely a big loss that's finally being seen with Soaz not in that top lane. Like, even if he can play now, he hasn't been practicing with the team, and you don't know what level he is going to perform at. So Fnatic will decide who gets to start based on who they think will be better on the day. But that top lane we saw was not the top lane from before Soaz's injury, right? That was a clear downgrade. And then I also think Reckless just wasn't his MVP self at all.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell on this for too long. I want to move on to Team Liquid, the other Western team that finished 0-2 on the day. Of course, their first loss against EVOS as well. And so let's talk about this squad and what we want to see out of the NA team moving forward.
Maybe this is why I'm a bit of a Fnatic apologist, because I look at TL and they're doing the exact same thing in both of their games. And yeah, game 1 was against Kingzone, and then game 2 against EVOS. But, at least Fnatic came in, and I felt like there was something new. That they felt like they had prepped for the tournament, that they were going to try different strategies, and maybe it didn't necessarily work. But then I look at TL, and they play the same old style. Well, that's fine, play to your strengths, but they didn't play to the win conditions of their composition. So you see something that it should feel really good on. They know how it fits, but then they just put it on backwards. And you're like, play a side lane. You have GP Rise. Like, what are you doing trying to 5v5 into Alistar Cassiopeia? Your pants are on backwards.
Yeah, I mean, Impact was super far ahead. Then he played like a Ornn. He was just frontlining in those team fights and dying. And Ole was not disengaging the way he needed to play a 1-3-1, right? So they almost defaulted back to that because I don't think they got the performance out of Ole that they wanted. I think a lot of blame does fall on Ole for today with his Tahm Kench play. I thought it was very poor. But beyond that, I agree with you. Losing to Kingzone pretty handily and then picking 4/5 of the same team composition and say, it's all right, they were just Korean.
Run it back.
Yeah, everything else is fine. You can change more than that. Especially with all the prep time they had.
For me, it kind of ties back into your impact point because, like, especially in game 2, when I looked at that draft, I was just thinking, okay, they're going to play through bot. They're going to do what they did in playoffs. I think that they have very clear win conditions they can very easily play towards. The moment impact dies 1v1, we see Team Liquid do nothing for the rest of the game. We see no pressure being played towards bot side. We don't see them trying to set up the 1-3-1 at all. And I feel like we're just kind of seeing what these two have nicely summed up, in which Team Liquid do not seem like the same team that we saw in playoffs. It felt like they came into playoffs extremely well prepared. They knew exactly what the meta was. They knew exactly how to take advantage of the strengths of the meta and play towards that. And then coming into this tournament, I feel like they just haven't demonstrated the same level of proficiency. Now, the bright side is for them, they started with the strongest team along with the expected weakest team in the group, and now the rest of the games, or at least the first half, are against teams that should in theory be around them. Unfortunately for them, Fnatic did lose 2 games, and if they can nab a win off of Flash Wolves, then that is a big opportunity for them to come back. So the schedule from here on could be a big upswing for Liquid, or it could just further solidify them in line.
A lot of work to do, 4 days to do it. We teased this tournament as the tournament of 80 carries at the top of the day. And so now with 6 games under our belt, 2 games from each of these 80 carries, I kind of want to work our way back through these guys as individuals and assess their performances here on day 1. To me, it seems natural to start with Prey, the ADC that ended in the 2-0 position and who we have, talked up to such a degree. Do we think he's living up to it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. He's so good.
He is so good.
Not only did they give him a comfort champion, I'd love to see what else he has available that he's brought to the tournament. But the fact that this team puts so much faith around him and they say we can build comps to enable you, but also we don't have to expect, we can just leave you alone and you can fend for yourself. He's shown 2 different distinct styles and he's been a huge impact in both those games.
Yeah, did he die? I see that 17 KDA. A lot of times that can be a 1 death or a 0 death, but that's basic. That's at most 1 death with teleport instead of heal. So also played against Uzi already. Yes, they got some advantages from the top lane, but I think from day 1, I would take Prey's number 1.
All right, that sounds fair to me. Anything to add there on Prey?
I mean, the defining moment was when he E'd in on Uzi inside the base and just dropped the hammer right on him. Thanks for playing, mate. See you next time.
The fact that he pumped out over 1K damage on that very fast Ezreal game is somewhat astonishing.
Ezreal always does high damage, right? Because of all the Q poke is what the counter is going to be online. But I agree with you that DPM in that short of a game is incredibly rare.
All right, let's move on to Uzi again, the other star ADC who took a loss to Prey here in this final game.
So for me, I don't think that this is Uzi's final form. Obviously, a lot of tournament left to play. Again, short preparation time. They came in late to the tournament.
Yeah.
So day 2 is really going to be the tester for me of what type of form is Uzi. Well rested, have they got the preparation, have they got the scrim times, what is it going to be? I liked his Kog'Maw game 1. I thought that his lane phase was fine. Game 2 though, like I said, I don't want to see him go back to Ashe. I want to see them put more priority on the Ezreal and put him on playmaking champions. And people be like, but Ashe has a giant arrow. Historically, anytime Uzi picks Ashe, it happened against EDG, RNG when they lost the finals last year. It's him taking a step back. It's him chickening out of a lot of the matchups.
Now, I don't want to go too hard on Reckless, as we've already talked a little bit about where he fell short today and the fact that he just didn't impress. So instead, I'd like to reframe the discussion around Reckless in terms of what needs to happen tomorrow, right? What do you want to see? What needs to change about the way he's approached this MSI group stage for him to get back to that place where he can be the MVP of the EU region and lead his team out of the group stage?
I think what often gets lost in 80 carry discussions is the fact that they are so reliant on their bottom lane. And this is a common theme between both Reckless and Doublelift today.
Okay.
Reckless did not seem like he was on the same page as Hylissang. That could have something to do with his Korean boot camp where he just solo queued, hundreds of games and then jumped back in with Hylissang. Or maybe with Doublelift as well. It just did not feel like either of these guys was in sync today. And they need to be in sync. These teams are too good to sack laning phase and turn it on later. They have to win lane.
And I don't think it's necessarily just the support. I also want to point out that Caps played Yasuo and he played Zoe, whereas like Uzi had, the supportive mid laners. Even the second game when Xiaohu was playing Swain, that's still a pick that's going to create so much zone control, and it's about the 5v5. I feel like a lot of these compositions, especially for Uzi in the Kog'Maw game, were set up to make him thrive, whereas Fnatic have been running more of those kind of dual threat in terms of where their resources are going and how they're setting up. So it's not like Reckless got, a Karma
left
mid
out
lane
to dry
type
a
of
little.
con. Yeah.
So for me, I actually don't think that like as an individual or even as a bot lane they're underperforming. I kind of just see them as having low impact and being kind of scared. Like they just
that is underperforming.
But I mean, sure, in the context, but like mechanically, I feel like I watched this game, like considering the matchups that he was put into 2 losing matchups today, and like his farming was still adequate. He was still above the 10 CS per minute. He was still holding his own in terms of the 2 versus 2. It was just that his impact was not there. He wasn't trying to. His positioning in fights was not out of this world. He wasn't taking that risk in order to find the play that would win his team the game. It just felt like he was taking a back step and he was trying to be the cleanup AD carry that would kind of be on the back line and kind of have Caps as the focal point. And that is not the Reckless that Fnatic fans want to see. Right. They want to see him alongside Caps. And that doesn't mean like diving on the front line, right? Working together to just run through whoever's in front of them. It just feels like that when we saw them in their finals versus G2, you could see that both of them were a constant threat that you had to respect. Whereas right now, it feels like the only threat you have to worry about is Caps.
All right, and that brings us to Doublelift, the final AD carry on the list. I mean, again, playing Jhin today, we talked about maybe some misreads on the meta for Team Liquid. Is that maybe where he just needs to shore it up? Hey, get on the meta and you'll be more successful? Or is there more play, mechanics, and decision-making, you know, going into the works here?
I mean, I think it's another scenario with Reckless. It's an AD carry meta, but the AD carry, you know, he needs a team in front of him to do something. And if Ole is having just a terrible series on Tahm Kench, and his #1 job is to help Doublelift feel safe enough that he can position aggressively, that he can make those fights, and Impact is, you know, frontlining as GP and just instantly dying, what is the AD carry supposed to do? I think Reckless and Doublelift were put in similar situations where as the rest of the team is collapsing, it does, you know, shit rolls downhill and they were standing on the bottom of the hill.
I do want to see some different picks, even though I'm not going to completely blame the Jhin.
Okay.
I don't know where Caitlyn's gone. I'm going to talk to some pros and figure out
what
what
brought that up,
with that. But, you know, Kog'Maw, Ezreal, these are the things that Doublelift can thrive on. And if they've
disappeared.
You're going to carry a team. Pick one of those champs.
Yeah, and I think like for me, like I think you summed it up quite nicely. But the key difference between Fnatic and Team Liquid is that I don't think anyone looked at Team Liquid and said Doublelift has to perform for this team to win, right? Like he's just been very consistent. He's been very staple. You can always rely on him, and I don't think he's necessarily been a detriment, right? The fact that he's playing now doesn't necessarily feel to me like that it's. I guess you could argue it's slightly different, but it feels like that the team around him is collapsing. Whereas for Reckless, he has been one of the persons that you need to step up. He is one of the 2 stars. So that's why I think there's a little more focus on Reckless, and why, for now, for the time being, my critical eye isn't so much on Doublelift, but more on the team of Team Liquid.
And really quickly, Betty played great today.
He actually,
right? So he wasn't in the conversation of the AD carry God matchup that everyone has been looking forward to, but he showed up, and he will continue to play well.
Absolutely do. Sitting at 2-0, going to look to continue pushing towards the top of the table. Of course, all of these players have 8 games left to go here in the group stage, so I want to take a look at what we've got coming up tomorrow. Now, the day starts with the O2 Fnatic taking on Kingzone, followed by RNG versus EVOS Esports, and from there, the undefeated Flash Wolves face off against Team Liquid before we get our second set of games. Now, the action begins at 11 a.m. Central European Summer Time, and that's 2 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Let's talk about some of these matchups that we can look forward to for tomorrow.
There's a chance that Fnatic and Team Liquid have both already won before that game, Dash.
That's true. So they could be sitting at 1 and 2, going head-to-head to go 2 and 2, hopefully.
I think these matchups look awesome for tomorrow. I'm super excited about both of Flash Wolves games as well, because you're really going to get to see if they get to deliver. And if EU and NA have taught us anything about World's group stages, it doesn't matter how you start. It matters how you finish the group stage.
Absolutely.
So don't be worried.
So I'm actually really excited for Royal versus EVOS. Because I felt like EVOS stepped up pretty significantly in game 2. And while, like, for the first 10 minutes, they didn't really do anything, the moment Yijin decided, I'm going to gank a little bit more, he did not stop ganking. And I am fascinated to see how he will stack up against a jungle like MLXG, who I feel we're yet to see the true MLXG, who's known for constant ganking, his unpredictability, the randomness that he can bring to games. If you have Yijin on form and MLXG doing the MLXG, I think we could have a really exciting jungle match.
Which MLXG do you want to see?
The one that ganks every 2 minutes. He doesn't farm. He doesn't counter jungle.
RNG actually brought 2 subs. You thought they had
Karsa. They've got
Karsa and MLXD.
Yes.
Yes, because there are two versions of that player. So I'm not sure which one you want to see.
I don't know what I expected to come out of that setup. That was so obvious, and then it still caught me off guard. Yeah, kudos there. All right, well, jungle matchups. I mean, yeah, Evos does have their work cut out for them, though. They have to follow their RNG game with a Kingzone game tomorrow, so they definitely will need to step up if they want to walk away with some victories.
To be fair, if we're predicting that Kingzone and RNG are kind of 1 and 2, which is kind of what the tournament's showcasing us, then Evos just, they get it out of the way, you know, relatively early. Like day 2, whatever, it's fine. We just gotta look towards our Fanatics and our TLs and our Flash Wolves. To me, as Jat was saying, this is the most important day for Flash Wolves. I'm not aboard the Flash Wolves hype just yet, but day 2 will be the real gut check for me of, okay, Flash Wolves didn't come to just compete, they came to win.
And anything can happen, and there's still plenty of room for all of these teams to shuffle around in the standings. That's going to do it for day 1 of groups. For myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for more MSI 2018. Good night. Welcome to Berlin, Germany, and opening day of the 2018 MSI group stage. The champions from 6 different regions look to put their names in the history books as we kick things off with RNG taking on the home favorites in Fnatic.
Manages to get the last breath as well as shield comes up. And a Steel Tempest for the solo kill. Devour from Ming by so much time. Just taken out. That's the most fit member. Bwipo follows immediately thereafter. Fnatic get caught out. Yichin's under pressure. Whoa! What was that? Blaze coming in, trying to get the damage down. Betty's the target. Slay flashed into the pit, but he's trying to fight 3 and gets shut down. Flash Wolves obliterate Evos Esports. There's the tongue lashing. Body blocked by Praetor's Gorilla. Now finds himself in trouble. First blood picked up by Podalta.
Staying in the way, they are blocking the Q from BDD. Sniped
by Prey! And BDD is going to flash forward, get that Mounter Q down. That will keep Doublelift in place long enough for Prey to shut him down.
Pulled right back in the damage. The Skarner, the bind, the kill, and Cats gets one on the board for Fnatic. Hillsong, not an easy exit, but this one is going to get chopped down. But he gets a kill in the second in the back line. Death cap, but the shots come in. Reckless has so much damage. The shot comes in, he gets the crit, rolls the dice, and it comes up nice. Slowed down a little bit, but has turned away from the stun. And now a kidnap on the top side. Doublelift got caught out, and Let's Bounce gets the kill. Now Pope still in a duel. Look at it's gonna be close. Bar on Rise. There's the big CC out of support. The knocked up chain together. A 2-0 for Evos Esports. They're gonna get the win. 1-1 is the scoreline.
Top side.
She is just going to fall. Ming couldn't land the rest of the abilities in, and the fight comes in, keeps him alive. The shots can come through. They go for the kills first. Had the KDAs. 2-0 in the group stage for Kingzone.